Hey guys, I'm Tim and welcome to the Mr. Maple Show. On the Mr. Maple Show, we put out daily content for you, so make sure you like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. And remember to shop on MrMaple.com. That helps us put out more and more videos. Today we're doing an experiment. It's February and we're gonna try rooting Edgeworthia chrysantha, specifically Edgeworthia chrysantha snow cream. This is an excellent Chinese paper bush, gives some good winter interest. We're here in February of 2023, and as you can see, these blooms are just about to start unfurling open with that golden, very sweet scenting bloom that everyone loves with the Chinese paper bush. They give such good winter interest. They're deciduous, so they drop their leaves. And so we figured, hey, why not try rooting them during this time of the season? Now, we're gonna use Hormidin #2 for our rooting hormone compound when we're trying right now. Hopefully we have some success. We're gonna keep this video going, the series going with the Edgeworthia chrysantha. So you'll have to check back later to see how our success is with rooting the Edgeworthia chrysantha. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna come in here and trim out some of these new stems from this last year's growth on this Edgeworthia chrysantha. Now, when we're doing rooted cuttings, we'll take off those blooms so that it doesn't waste a lot of energy trying to put those blooms out. And we're just gonna come through here and leave one on about every stem just so we don't mess up the overall shape of this plant. But we're gonna go across and prune this out and get these cuttings for us to be doing rooted cuttings from. So we just got all of our cuttings. So we've got the Edgeworthia chrysantha snow cream cuttings right here. And as you can see here, it's important to label so you know exactly which cultivar you're sticking. Now we went ahead and got this soil mixture here. And what we did is we have these trays here have really good drainage. That's really critical for your rooted cuttings. And then we lined something very similar to newspaper along the bottom of this. That way it holds this mixture we're making in this tray. And it still gives good drainage. Now, the actual media we're using is about 50% perlite and then 50% of a bag mix that's very similar to something like a Miracle-Gro bag mix. And that gives a nice fluffy soil that we can do our rooted cuttings in. Now, the next thing is that Hormidin #2 that we've got here. Now, when you're doing this, it's really important whenever you've got your rooting hormone that you don't actually stick the cuttings directly into this. That'll get this very dirty. So what you do is you pour it out into something like this cup I've got here, that you can dip your rooted cuttings in. Now what we've got here is our snow cream, and this is a pretty long stick, so I can probably cut that into at least 2 cuttings. And then I've got a knife here that we're gonna make a sharp cut on one side of the Edgeworthia. And we've got that sharp cut, and all we're gonna simply do, dip it into the rooting hormone, and that has chemicals on it that tells this plant to grow roots, and we're gonna stick it in one of the corners here of this tray. And then we're gonna fill out this entire tray. But one thing that's always critically important too is to label what you're doing. And so what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna put one label on the rooted cutting itself for that set, and then I'm also gonna put another label on the tray right beside the rooted cuttings for that style. So we know if one label comes off, we've got a backup. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna repeat this process for this entire tray until I run out of all my rooted cuttings. Hey y'all, so we've got a full tray of Edgeworthia snow cream stuck now, just exactly like we just talked about. Caroline and Elizabeth were out there working away, getting this stuck for rooted cuttings. What we have here are heat mats. And we're gonna place these rooted cuttings on the heat mat. And what we're gonna do here in a little bit is we're gonna come through, water these trays down. That way they get some nice moisture going on. We've got them raised up on a table that adds extra drainage to the situation. The one thing you don't want with your rooted cuttings is for them to be really soggy. You'll get a lot of funguses, and you really won't get a lot of root growth. So we want to keep them on the drier side, but then constantly keep them with a higher humidity. Now what we've got here is a 44-inch aggregate heat mat, and it's got a screen on top of it. And what we do here, this whole table all the way down through here has these heat mats on it. We're currently warming up some of our ginkgo rootstock, getting them prepared, making sure that that rootstock is getting ready for grafting, but we're also going to start using this for our rooted cuttings. Now with these rooted cuttings, we've got here, this here is the controller. And so what we'll actually do here is we have this set right here to about 55 degrees. It's the Kin bar. This is the controller that you plug the aggregate heat mat into. Now this is the thermostat. So this is what measures the temperature. And what we're going to do here is we're going to take this thermostat and we're going to place this on the side of the tray. Actually, I may place this one more towards the center. And what this will do is it will measure the temperature of the heat that's actually getting put onto the roots of these rooted cuttings. When we do this right, what's going to happen is when it gets to above 55 degrees, this will turn off. But when it gets below 55 degrees, this will turn the heat mats on and keep those roots actively trying to grow. And this is an amazing, fun thing to do. I mean, I love taking plants and producing lots of other plants from them. Really awesome. What we're going to do here in a second is we're going to cover this. We're going to cover this one section here with poly. And what that poly is going to do is add humidity to the situation. Now, when you add humidity to the situation, you also might be adding fungus. So what you want to be aware of is that fungus may be starting to form on these. So sometimes we'll come through here and spray some fungicide, a light fungicide on this, and that like Zerotol, and that will help prevent the fungus from forming on your rooted cuttings. You know, Edgeworthia chrysantha is an amazing plant. It's really cool to be able to do some rooted cuttings like this. And we'll go ahead, I'll give you some up close looks at some of this controller and the heat mat. And then we're going to be watering this and covering this over with the clear poly. We're using a 6 mil clear poly, and we're going to cover this as we go down and add more rooted cuttings to this bed. We're going to be continually pulling over more of the clear poly just to cover everything, add that extra humidity. And if we do this all right, hopefully we'll have a lot of success with some Edgeworthia chrysantha cuttings. Hey guys, so we've got this now covered with the clear poly. I mean, it's a matter now where we'll just be coming in here, making sure we're adding humidity every 3 or 4 days, making sure that we've got a lot of humidity up here towards the top. You know, this poly is important to have on there because we've already got a greenhouse in here. It's already in a cold frame, but doing this poly inside of a cold frame is really going to increase the humidity drastically on these rooted cuttings and really help with them in their root progression. Now, one of the other cool things about these trays that we have, they're raised up a little bit. So we've got this much distance between the top of where the soil was and where the plastic is. And when you do that, your rooted cuttings aren't going to be touching the poly. And that's a great way to do it. Sometimes we'll even have hoop frames when we're doing larger rooted cuttings in smaller trays, because you don't want that poly to be right on top touching your rooted cuttings. But what we'll be doing here is we'll be watering this, coming back, and in 3 or 4 weeks coming back and then tugging on those plants, and you'll start to feel and see these roots starting to form on these Edgeworthia cuttings. And when we start having those roots starting to form on these Edgeworthia cuttings, that's when the excitement happens, because then we've got a lot of plants that are ready to pot up. I'm excited about all the rooted cuttings we'll be doing now on Mr. Maple. If you're going to be doing rooted cuttings, I hope this video really helped you understand how we're doing Edgeworthia chrysantha snow cream cuttings right now in February of 2023. Thanks you all so much for watching. Make sure you give us a like, a subscribe, share this video, comment in the comment section, and as always, remember to shop on MrMaple.com. We're a family mail order business, over 1,000 varieties of Japanese maples we ship directly to your door. So check us out on MrMaple.com. We'd really appreciate it. Take care, God bless, and have a great day.